I want you to imagine something. You know that the people in Hollywood and various other places where they make movies and do similar things like to give you these people who are supposedly superheroes and can do amazing things, feats of strength and various other things that they can do. I want you to imagine that you are actually, we'll make it you, are actually someone who could basically cause the end of the universe if you chose to do so by a simple thought. I want you to imagine that you're that person. Now, I want you to imagine that you've lived in a place that's nothing like the place where you are destined to go, and the place that you're destined to go is planet Earth. I want you to imagine that. And you're not only destined to go to planet Earth, but you're destined to do that as a person who looks like, for all intents and purposes, any other human being. I had a pastor years ago who used to say God in a bod, and I am sure he got that from somewhere else. But whether you say that about the particular person I'm talking about or not, whether it's someone else, I want you to imagine what that looks like, what that would be like for you to do. I want to talk today about the subject of poor Jesus, which is one that came to me listening to something that Dinesh D'Souza had to say, but that's what I want to talk about on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Tuesday, the 28th of December of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, the podcast, YouTube, BitChute, or Clout Hub, or for that matter, anywhere else you happen to be watching what I'm putting out there today. Remember that Rumble is currently my preferred platform. That may change at some point in the future, but for the time being, I'll be happy to count them my primary resource that I use for where I put my videos. Again, the subject for today is going to be poor Jesus, and I want to go quickly through my notes to kind of help you to understand exactly what it is that I'm saying. At some point in the time around Christmas, when lots of folks, one might argue rightly, turn their attention to Jesus, I was attending one of Dinesh D'Souza's podcasts, attending in the old sense that a lot of people don't use these days. He brought up a question apparently atheists are prone to ask with regard to the time and place of the coming of Christ. Why did he come at the time and place that he did? As far as it goes, I guess you could say Dinesh answered the question relatively well. That considered, there are a few things I think need covered that, frankly, he didn't discuss, or at least it didn't seem like it to me. To begin with, assuming the accounts in all the Gospels are correct, Jesus was able to ensure literally thousands were fed in miraculous fashion. So, where it's definitely fair to say he came from modest circumstances, it's equally fair to say Jesus could have had anything he wanted. This important realization makes his character that much worthier of praise, in my opinion. Jesus chose to, quote, spend miraculous power on others, not on himself. Now, to be fair, of course, when he left Earth, I'm sure he got all the wonderful things that he would have had anyway. But the point is, while on planet Earth, he didn't choose to indulge himself. Okay, this is also true when the idea that he could have called a legion of angels to help him in time of need had he desired to do so, and didn't. He didn't do that. What I'm getting at here is the idea that Jesus was poor has some truth to it. That said, he obviously believed, and for good reason, in his own ability to do the miraculous. Doesn't take a genius to figure out why, right? As such, his poverty, where real, was the more meaningful, not the less, because he chose to be a man of no reputation, as various folks have put it. With regard to the where, and when, by the way, of both Jesus' birth and his ministry, to begin with, a long prophetic trail was laid down throughout the Old Testament, giving clues to where various things would occur. It was important, therefore, that things be done in accordance with what was already written, what was already spoken and written. But the prophecies didn't need to be laid out as they were, one might argue. It's important to remember for whom Jesus came. You see, Jesus came initially not for me. He came for the Jews. He came for the Jews. It wasn't until after his earthly passing, and in fact really after his resurrection, that ambassadors, if you will, were sent to the Gentiles. I'm going to cover just one more thing in my notes so that I don't run long, but may have more to deal with in open discussion. In fact, I promise you that I will. Though it's fair to say Jesus was a humble man, his lineage was that of kings, Jewish kings to be precise. Putting it simply, it was important for poor Jesus to come in just the way he did. It was very important. Let's take some time to explore that now. Okay. The first thing that I'm going to say is this. Jesus came when he did, and if you look at the time that he came and realize that he came initially for the Jews, as the Messiah for the Jews, he came at the time of the Jews' descendants. They were beginning to descend. They were beginning to lose power to the Romans and various other entities that existed, and that only, quote, got worse in the course of time. It's fair to say that Israel is now a place, and that the Jews are the primary reason that that's true. But the point is that the time that he came was pivotal for Judaism. It was the time just after the ascendance of the Jews, not in the world as a whole, but in their little region of the world. And for whatever reason, and you'd have to ask God why, but he chose the Jews as his chosen people. So when Jesus came to planet Earth, he came to the planet for the Jews. And I'm going to say this again, whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not, it is laid out precisely in the Bible that Jesus, if you look at his genealogy, was literally in the lineage of David, king, first real meaningful king of the Jews. I know you could argue that Saul was the first king of the Jews, and I can't really argue that. But at the same time, the one who is best known and the one whose line actually Jesus came from was the line of David, right? The point is, he was in the lineage of kings. He was a Jew. I don't want to argue brown, black, white, pink with you about what, quote, color Jesus was, because I don't think it matters. And if you think that I'm trying to say, well, Jesus was white, so it must be okay, the first thing you need to understand is, no, that's not how I look at life. That's not how I see things. Jesus was who he was when he came to earth, and it was his pleasure to come as he did, whatever that looks like. I don't care if it was African. I don't care if it was Asian. I don't care if it was Jewish. I don't care if it was Euro. It doesn't make a bit of difference to me, and shouldn't to you either. But my point in all of this is to say simply this. When people argue that the time and place of the coming of Jesus Christ makes no sense, it's because they're looking at things from a perspective where they do not realize for whom Jesus came and who he was to whom. Jesus was the Christ, the Messiah. There's another name that the Jews use, particularly fulfilled Jews use for him, and I forget what it is now. I was told recently what it was. But my point is to say, if he's the Messiah, if he was the Jewish Messiah, then guess what? It was to the Jews that he was to come. And it wasn't until, as I say, after his resurrection, as far as I can tell, that Gentiles, that people who were not of Jewish descent, were actually allowed to be a part of that kingdom. So when you ask me why then, why there, I see a number of reasons that are really very important, and I see absolutely no way to get around that fact. And that is what I would kind of like to bundle up today. Jesus came to the Jews. He came as Messiah. He was in the line of Jewish kings, even though he was, quote, poor. And so there's no way to get around any of this. And this is kind of what I want for you to understand. Yes, there was very good reason for him to come when and where he did, whether people understand it or they don't. Okay. I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Tuesday, the 28th of December of 2021, moving ever closer to that middle of that week, what lots of people call Hump Day, that being Wednesday, the 29th of December of 2021, moving very, very close to the end of the year. It's coming up in the blink of an eye. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on YouTube, on the podcast, on BitChute, or on CloudHub, or anywhere else that you happen to have joined me. Remember, my preferred platform is Rumble. Remember that you can hit the boxing glove on Rumble to give me a rumble. You can hit the plus to say that you liked my content, the minus to say that you didn't. On YouTube and probably other platforms, you can hit a thumbs up or similar to give me a like, to say that you liked what I did, or a thumbs down or something like that in order to say that you weren't happy with my content. If it is possible for you to comment, and particularly if I get notified when you do, I will do everything that I can to pay attention to your comments, your praise, your disagreement, whatever it happens to be. You're telling me I'm all wet. Again, the subject for today has been Poor Jesus, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the idea of when feelings drive. And we'll talk about why, in my opinion, it's hard to find a worse way to do business than to deal with the idea of when feelings drive, or the idea of feelings driving you around. Again, we'll talk about that some more tomorrow. Hope that you're having a good day today, as usual. I hope also that your time is going well, and that the new year gives you good and desirable things, or at least things that are good for you, whether or not you necessarily desire them, which is something I probably have talked about before. And I hope, as usual, to see you again on Wednesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Tuesday, the 28th of December of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.